Hey, I'm Sean, and I've done some pretty crazy things in my life. But nothing compares to the time I drove down the most dangerous roads on the planet. Picture this. I'm gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turn white, and my heart is racing. There's fog all around me, the road's crumbling beneath my tires, and just inches away is a drop into pure nothingness. One wrong move, and that would have been it. But somehow, I made it through. And I'm here to tell the story. I've driven Bolivia's infamous Death Road, where hundreds of people lose their lives each year. I've navigated Alaska's Dalton Highway, where the cold could kill you before the road does. And I survived it all. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of people who are killed on these roads every year. Want to feel what it's like to face death on the world's most dangerous roads? Buckle up, because this ride is going to get intense. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're ready for more stories like these. Let me tell you about the time I took on Trollstigen in Norway. It was like driving into a postcard, majestic mountains and waterfalls all around me. But don't be fooled by the beauty. This road kills people every year. The wet pavement from the rain made the 11 hairpin turns feel like a game of Russian roulette. My tires slipped more than once, and I swear I was inches from sliding off the edge. I remember my hands were shaking as I gripped the wheel tighter with every turn. The road? It was daring me to make a mistake, but I survived it. Barely. Others haven't been so lucky. You'd think driving through the desert would be peaceful, just you and the open road, but let me tell you, Ruta 5 in Chile is anything but peaceful. More than 100 people die every year on this stretch of highway. The heat is suffocating, so hot that I thought I might pass out behind the wheel. And then there are the sandstorms. Imagine not being able to see more than 5 feet ahead of you. The wind was battering the car, and all I could do was hope I wasn't about to drift off the road. I've never felt so alone on a drive. By the time I reached Iquique, I couldn't believe I had survived the brutal heat and deadly isolation. Skipper's Canyon Road in New Zealand? That was the road where I truly thought I might not make it. Dozens of people have died here, and I could feel that weight on me as I drove. No guardrails, just a narrow, crumbling edge with a straight drop into the canyon below. There was one point where I had to pass another car coming the other way, and I swear I could feel the wheels of my car slipping off the edge. My heart was racing. I was sure this was it. Every turn on that road felt like a fight for survival, but somehow I made it out in one piece. Others, not so lucky. Driving the Guoliang Tunnel Road in China felt like a bad dream. Dozens of accidents happen here every year, and I could see why. This tunnel was carved out of the side of a mountain by hand, narrow, claustrophobic, and dangerously close to the edge of a sheer cliff. I could barely fit my car through without scraping the walls, and the whole time I had this creeping fear that part of the mountain would give way. Every little bump in the road sent a jolt through me, and the open gaps in the tunnel wall showed me just how far I'd fall if anything went wrong. But I survived it. Many others haven't been as fortunate. Fairy Meadows Road in Pakistan? That's the kind of road where even the locals warn you not to drive. Every year, dozens of people die trying to make it up this road. It's not even paved, just a narrow dirt track clinging to the side of a mountain. No guardrails, no safety nets. And the drop? It was so steep, I could barely bring myself to look. The road is so narrow, once you're on it, there's no turning back. At times, I felt the ground shifting beneath my tires, like the whole thing could just collapse at any moment. My heart was pounding the entire way, but somehow, I made it to the top. Not everyone does. They call BR-116 in Brazil the Highway of Death for a reason. Every year, this road claims hundreds of lives. It's not just the sharp curves and terrible road conditions. It's also the constant threat of bandits. The whole time I was driving, I could feel this tension in the air, like something could go wrong at any moment. Every few miles, I passed the wreckage of another car, a grim reminder of how deadly this road really is. It felt like the road was testing me, daring me to make it through. And somehow, I did. But many others don't make it to the end. Zoji La Pass, India. If there's one road that almost broke me, it was Zoji La Pass in India. Every year, dozens of people die on this pass, and I could feel why. I was 11,000 feet up in the Himalayas, driving on a road so narrow that two cars can barely pass each other. Snow was swirling around me, and the wind was so strong it felt like it was going to push me right off the edge. My tires kept slipping on the ice, and at one point, I was stuck between a truck on one side and a cliff on the other. I could barely breathe as I inched forward, sure that the mountain was trying to push me off. But I survived. Others aren't so lucky. The James Dalton Highway in Alaska? That's the road where you realize just how small you are. This road claims lives every year, not just because of accidents, but because of the isolation and the brutal cold. I was driving through endless miles of frozen wilderness, snow and ice covering everything. If something went wrong, there was no help for hundreds of miles. At one point, I hit a patch of black ice, and the car slid dangerously close to the edge of the road. It felt like I was a million miles from anywhere, and I knew if the car broke down, I could freeze before help ever arrived. But I survived it. Many don't. The Korum Highway is one of the highest paved roads in the world, but it's also one of the most dangerous. Hundreds of people have died on this road over the years, and I felt that danger with every mile I drove. The altitude was dizzying, but that was nothing compared to the constant threat of landslides. At one point, a wall of rocks came crashing down just a few feet in front of my car. I slammed the brakes and barely stopped in time. The mountains seemed to be closing in, and it felt like at any moment, the road could disappear under my tires. But I made it through. Others aren't so lucky. And finally, there's North Yungas Road in Bolivia, better known as the Death Road. It's estimated that 200 to 300 people die here every year, and it's not hard to see why. The road is so narrow, there's barely enough room for one vehicle, and on the other side, a vertical drop that plunges thousands of feet into the jungle. No guardrails, just you and the abyss. I had to pass an oncoming car at one point, and I swear my tires were hanging half off the edge. Every turn felt like a life or death gamble. By the time I made it to the other side, I couldn't believe I had survived it. Many others don't. From the icy James Dalton Highway to Bolivia's infamous Death Road, I've survived some of the deadliest roads on the planet, but not everyone is as lucky. So, which road would you dare to drive? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more death-defying journeys and adrenaline-pumping content. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss a single adventure.